your guide to the truth. thenewamericanmedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Agree to Disagree here on thenewamericanmedia.com, part of the TNAM radio network. I am your host, Brian Engelman, and I have been with you for 3+ years, and I appreciate every one of you taking the time to check out what we're up to over here. I certainly appreciate it. I certainly do. And I am going to request that you check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Also, run a search on Facebook for The New American Media with spaces in between and like the page. On Twitter, we're at American_media_. Follow us there. And subscribe, youtube.com/The New American Media. Yes. It's a busy week, and we have a limited time for today's program, so we're going to try to get to as many of the most important stories, including Lois Lerner, an Ebola outbreak, pandemic possibility, continuing fighting over in Gaza, and much more. We're going to welcome special guest Blake the Eccentric Walley to the program. He is a radio host. You can find him every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from noon to 1:30 p.m. Pacific on freedomizerradio.com for his show Eccentric Perspective. Check out his program called Eccentric Perspective as well. And we shall continue our conversation because, as we talked off air, we're certainly not on the same page with the Gaza battle. So we'll get to that.
Maybe traveling for work
and you know
sounds
what?
glamorous.
We'll get to that as soon as I get rid of this advertisement that just started playing. And I don't want it to play,
I really wouldn't survive
and I would
it
love
without
to
this
know
scarf.
why it's playing.
It's like a little bit of
I
home
actually
stuff
cannot
in my
stand
bag.
the fact that it's playing.
And I have
Does this
Tide
happen
plus
to you?
Febreze, which now gets it fresher for longer.
Yeah,
so
fresher
I can stay
longer.
happy even
Who
when
in the world is playing this ad? Yeah, here it is. Found it, AP. No wonder I don't go to the AP. You know, I'm not going to go to sites that are just going to throw up horrible ads in the background. Yeah, I'm making my stand. Oh, Lord. I can still hear it. I can't turn it off. You know, I'm trying to tell a story, and this website, you know what, seriously, because we've been over this before. We do these radio shows, and we queue up all these stories, and then it just starts going through the feed. I don't want your stupid ads. So let's just get to the show, because I'm going to get to this story so I can get rid of it. And I guess we're starting with that one because of that. How about that? Sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan to me. I know, ideally I should have this on another computer so it can't go through the feed. I gotcha.
Hello.
Blake, welcome to Agree to Disagree. I just had one of those moments. I pulled up a couple stories from the Associated Press, and for some reason they like to play ads when I don't want to listen to them, and I just kind of ranted on air for a minute. How are you doing today, sir?
I am good. Yeah, it's catching on Breitbart. See, there you go. There's a pop-up ad right there.
Can't stand it.
Usually it started with Breitbart, and then now it's like other people are picking up on it, even though everybody hates it. It's annoying as hell.
You know, they're trying to increase revenue streams, but you know what? I saw a couple of products, and I vowed to myself, just like when LeBron James was endorsing, what was it, vitamin water? I would never buy a vitamin water because I don't like LeBron James. Of course, now he's back on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I root for laundry, so fine, I'll buy his products. But I'm making a mental note, and I'm going to send them a message, and I'm going to send the website a message. I did with Breitbart. I told them, hey, we got stories to tell, and your stuff is really bugging us. We're going to stop using your site. Seriously, we're just going to stop using your site. So I digress, but I know this happens to you a lot on your radio shows. I hear it happen to you all the time. So anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that because that's more of like an inside baseball thing. It doesn't really matter to the listener. What matters is the points inside of these stories, and I'm just going to go to the AP. I guess we're starting with this one. I didn't plan on doing it, but it's AP, and I got to close it because I don't want this ad popping up. It's like it pops up every 5 minutes. So, from the Associated Press, this is today. Benjamin Netanyahu says to the United States, don't second-guess me on Hamas. Following the quick collapse of the ceasefire in Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the White House not to force a truce with Palestinian militants on Israel. Sources familiar with conversations between Netanyahu and senior U.S. officials, including Secretary of State John Kerry, say the Israeli leader advised the Obama administration not to ever second-guess me again on the matter. The officials also said Netanyahu could also be trusted on the issue about how the unwillingness of Hamas to enter into and follow through on ceasefire talks. The Obama administration on Friday condemned outrageous violations of an internationally brokered Gaza ceasefire by Palestinian militants and called the apparent abduction of an Israeli soldier a barbaric action. That coming from the Obama administration, by the way. The strong reaction came as top Israeli officials questioned the effort to forge the truce, accusing the U.S. and the United Nations of being naive and assuming that radical Hamas movement would adhere with its terms. The officials also blamed the Gulf state of Qatar for not forcing the militants to comply. With the ceasefire in tatters fewer than 2 hours after it took effect, with an attack that killed 2 Israeli troops and left a third missing, President Barack Obama demanded that those responsible release the soldier. Of course, well, if Obama draws a red line or demands something, I'm sure the international community is going to pay attention to it. Obama and the other U.S. officials did not directly blame Hamas for the abduction, but they made clear they hold Hamas responsible for or having influence over the actions of all factions in the Gaza Strip. Blah, 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 blah. If they're serious about trying to resolve this situation, the soldier needs to be unconditionally released as soon as possible, Obama told reporters. He added that it would be difficult to revive the ceasefire without the captives' release. Blake, you and I definitely do not see eye to eye just yet on this Gaza situation. What do you make of this latest story with this latest ceasefire, this latest effort from Hamas to totally throw this into shambles again and then somehow try to find a way to blame Israel for their actions?
Well, if they are in the wrong and they did violate that ceasefire and they did take that soldier, then yes, I totally agree that he should be released immediately and somebody should be punished for that. The problem is I just don't know who to believe in these situations. I think Netanyahu is a monster and a war criminal, and I don't trust anything they put out, and I don't really trust much that the Obama administration puts out either. So, yeah, there should be an independent investigation to figure out what happened, and hopefully that soldier gets returned. Shouldn't be a violation there. But, no, I don't care for Hamas either, so that really is the struggle, and yeah, it's really telling. And of Netanyahu, as I said, is a monster and a war criminal. That we shouldn't second guess him. It sounds like the true tyrant that he is, and yeah, you can only imagine what he could get away with if everybody in the world just said, yeah, let's just let him do his own thing, and nobody's going to take a look, and you'll see what happens to Palestine and. Who else? What else? What do you get us involved with Iran or whatever? He needs to be kept on a short leash, and he should absolutely be scrutinized. There's nobody should ever just sit down and go, oh, okay, well, let's just let Netanyahu run the show, and we won't question him. I'd love to see him get into a debate with some top Palestinian leadership or anybody else that's sympathetic over there. Say Max Blumenthal or something like that would be fascinating, but I don't think Netanyahu would ever get in the ring and debate because he knows it's a losing issue.
Well, this one coming from the Gateway Pundit. Just 90 minutes into the humanitarian ceasefire, Hamas emerged from a terror tunnel, detonated a suicide bomb, and took 1 Jew hostage back through the tunnel. Let's see. IDF soldier feared kidnapped. Terrorists emerged from the tunnel shaft, and a suicide bomber detonated near soldiers prior to the suspected kidnapping. The IDF says the incident is ongoing, but it's in the midst of efforts to track down the missing soldier. Some of the terror tunnels are almost 2 miles long and cost upwards of $1 million each to construct. Some of that construction money comes from American taxpayers. Some of those tunnels were built with entrances inside United Nations buildings, ostensibly with tacit UN approval. Talk about all the casualties and everything going on. To clarify, I don't want to see any more bloodshed. I don't want anyone else dead. We can go back. We could say that California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, this is Mexico. No, we could go back further and say it's Native American. No, we could go back further and say it's dinosaurs. At what point do we just stop and say, we're here now, let's figure this out, and let's not kill each other over it? Just to be clear, I don't want any more bloodshed. I'm so sick of it. My entire life, I've heard nothing but, another bomb went off today in Israel. Over in the Gaza Strip, a building was leveled with suspected terrorists. It's the same story. It's the most boring story in the world to me because it's like a record on repeat. It's just skipping and playing the same line over and over again. I don't want to see that. But the aid money that's supposed to go to the people in Gaza is obviously, at this point, unless you would dispute that, going to build these $1 million terror tunnels with electricity, with concrete reinforcement. We're not talking pieces of wood and sticks, and really, this is really advanced infrastructure, and it's being used for violence on the people of Israel. Israel, in my opinion, has every right to blow the hell out of those things and stop it. What my question to you is, you have repeatedly referred to Gaza as an apartheid state. Can you explain why you are calling Gaza an apartheid state? Why you blame the Israel for making it that way? And final question: don't you think Israel has a right to put a blockade and stop what's going on in there, knowing that they're using the money and materials to wage warfare against them? It's a long question. Take it whatever angle you want.
Well, yeah, I don't know where to start. Now, this is a different type of thing. It's an artificial creation, this Israel, and I'm not saying they don't deserve to have their own land. Of course, the people of Israel scattered around after Israel basically fell a long time ago.
And when, just out of curiosity, not to interrupt, but I do want clarification. You're saying Israel is a created state and Palestine is not, and Gaza is not, or that they all are?
If you're going to use that analogy, yeah, like was it the Indians were here before us, or the dinosaurs, and stuff like that. Yes, Palestine was there. It was occupied by Britain, and then they decided that Israel should have that the Israeli people should have Israeli. It's a different faction of Jews, the Zionist Jews that believe they should have this land that God has given them or whatever. But Zionism has only been around for maybe a couple hundred years.
And can you define Zionism again?
New philosophy.
Can you define Zionism? Because
Zionism is a faction of Judaism, where many people that are of Jewish descent or Jewish, they view it as a religion and not as a nationality, as a country. And a lot of these Zionists are not the ancient Hebrews that used to occupy Israel. When you think of it as like biblical, and you think of them as being run by, from the descendants of King Saul and King David and Solomon, and all the way up through, until they fell to Babylon, and then they were, Israel's basically been, occupied, but anyway, at some point they kind of scattered around. It became the land of Palestine again, and whether it was under the Ottoman Empire or various other factions that occupied the territory, and then before it became Israel again, it was run by the British. So instead of giving, Palestine their independence, they just said, "Oh, okay, we'll switch it over from the British because they're going broke and their empire's failing. So we'll give it to Israel, and we'll give the homeland to these Jews." But not all Jews recognize this secular type of government has anything to do with Judaism, the religion, as I've said. But of course, there's parts where they were persecuted in different areas that they eventually wound up in, and of course you had the Holocaust. So then the thought was that it was a good idea to set up this state. And I'm not saying they don't have a right to have their own state in their own place, but since they've occupied this area, they have not the Zionists, who I do think are colonialists, who are basically view it as their land, and they never wanted the Palestinians there, and they are basically trying to wipe them off of that land, much as people would say that Hamas wants to wipe out Israel. It goes both ways on that.
And so as far as the Zionists that you're talking about, are you saying that every Israeli is a Zionist, or a very small portion, just like a portion of Palestinians or the people in Gaza are allowing themselves to be represented and run by Hamas? A large percentage of Israelis are allowing a small percentage of Zionists to represent their government. Am I close, or am I way off?
It's tough, and I'm no expert on that, but the Zionists are a different faction of Jew. This is a relatively new concept, and they wanted to have this homeland. They thought it was basically given to them by God. But like I said, there's plenty of Jews out there that don't believe in this Israeli state. It has nothing to do with ancient Hebrews, and people argue that the Zionists aren't even really related to them, or it's just, things have changed so often. But I mean, it would be like, Native Americans coming back and saying, you know what, we think we've been persecuted too much and we should have some of our land back. And it's like, wait a second, it's been a long time since you were part of these tribes. Now you've kind of scattered around, and you're not really the same people. But now you're saying, well, God says you can have this land back, and then you do, and then they just are not nice to the other people that they're supposed to share this land with.
Is that similar to La Raza? La Raza, calling themselves the race, which if you had, a white group doing it, it'd be absolutely disgusting, but there's a group called La Raza. Are you familiar with La Raza? Is that similar?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, definitely. I think that's very a good analogy to maybe, with Zionism, or you could say radical Islam that believes that they're, superior. There's all kinds of, or the KKK, people that are, Nazis, people that believe in this, the purity of their own race and that they're entitled to things and that they don't get along with anybody else. And yeah, you got a lot of these factions, but there's a percentage of these people that live in Israel that are Zionists, that are kind of are accused of being racist, and that's very debatable. A lot of people are considering that Israel is a bit of an apartheid state. And yeah, the Palestinians aren't exactly free and independent. They have a very tough go of things, and they're kind of in a rock and a hard place, I guess, because they're either at the mercy of Israel and Netanyahu, or they're being run by the extremists that maybe they voted in. They didn't have a lot of choice, and the people are kind of helpless in the middle because they don't have the same right. They don't have a Second Amendment. They don't have Constitution and a Bill of Rights over there.
Well, let me define apartheid, at least from Wikipedia. The word meaning the state of being apart, literally apartheid, was a system of racial segregation in South Africa enforced through legislation by the National Party governments, which was the ruling party from 1948 to 1994, under which the rights, associations, and movements of the majority black inhabitants were curtailed, and Afrikaner minority rule was maintained. Apartheid was developed after World War II by the Afrikaner-dominated National Party and Broederbond organizations, and was practiced in Southwest Africa. Getting independence. By extension, the term is nowadays currently used for every kind of segregation established by the state authority in a country against the social and civil rights of a certain group of citizens due to ethnic prejudices. I am not. I don't hold the job of John Kerry, or I'm not Secretary of State, and I haven't spent several decades immersing myself in all of this. But okay. So am I wrong then, Blake, to think that this is not Israel putting these people in cages and not allowing them to have water and power, but it's the reaction from being attacked over several decades, and they've had to impose stricter and stricter restrictions to keep it from happening again, to keep the suicide bombs, the bombs in the middle of town square, the rockets being thrown into Jerusalem, all of these things. I kind of see it from that side as, after so many decades, you just got to protect yourself, and by extension, that's going to increase the security and the the apartness, using the phrase.
I don't know. I think they use that as an excuse to crack down on that. I think if there's any nightmare for Netanyahu, I mean, as bad as the leadership has been with some of with Palestine and their leaders, whether it's Fatah or Hamas, I think the worst thing that could happen for Netanyahu's angle would be to have a great humanitarian who wants to negotiate and peaceful resistance against them. I think he would rather have extremists, and there's people that say that. I mean, it's well documented that basically Hamas was kind of a creation of Israel, that they helped make this a possibility, and they wanted something to run against Yasser Arafat and the PLO, even more radical. And I think they like when the radicals are doing, because then they can use any excuse to crack down and take more of their land.
So you're saying
maps? Yeah.
Wait, were you saying about the map?
Yeah, if you look at maps of Israel back from 1948 to now, and you look at the amount of Palestinian land, yeah, they keep getting shoved into a smaller and smaller area, basically ghettoized, as some say. And they don't have a lot of opportunity or equal rights or anything like that. It's not fun to grow up in a kind of an occupied area like that. So, I mean, it's only inevitable at some point that there's pushback, and it's unfortunate that there's so many innocent people that get, stuck in that situation and get killed because they're between two, horrible things going on. And I don't really know where they're supposed to go or what they're supposed to do. So I don't know.
Well, I
don't like either side of this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sick of all the killing, and I just want it to stop. Let's move on because there's gonna be more to talk about this, and we only have you for a brief amount of time here. Off of Breitbart.com. Let's see. Well, now it's gonna. Oh, you talked about it earlier, and here it's about to happen. Here's that video that's going to play, even though I don't want it to. Washington D.C. House Republicans passed it. Hold on, can I mute it Can I mute it in time? Oh, now I got a pop-up ad behind this ad. I'm telling you, I'm going to stop going to Breitbart for news. I am over it. And I know this is insider baseball. I need a second computer is what I need, so this doesn't run through the feed. Let's just be honest about that.
Well, now's the time to do it. It's getting all the good computer deals before back to school.
Oh, hey. I was actually shopping for one the other day. But anyway, Washington, D.C., House Republicans passed a border supplementation bill on Friday night. The 223 to 189 vote came after an initial attempt at a border supplement failed to make it to the floor Thursday due to lack of support. Late-night meetings and tweaks to the original bills found members emerging from a... Who cares? What are the details of it? GOP victory... Victory? Who cares? Nobody's winning this. Oh, there it is! Stupid Breitbart. I'm going to stop taking articles off of Breitbart. I'm telling you. So, 57,000 unaccompanied minors since October, vast majority coming from El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, detained illegally, and then being re-released. It's kind of insane. It's like going hunting and throwing the fish back. I don't know. What do you make of this latest House bill? Have you had a chance to take a look at it? Do you think anything productive is going to be done to seal the border to stop more of the problems? Or is this just it's just a puppet show so Republicans can't have a talking point hammered against them that they failed to act before recess? Is there anything good that came out of this, do you think?
I don't know. I don't take it too seriously. I'll start taking it seriously when, and I think this needs to be done, is we need to remove John Boehner from the leadership position. We need somebody who's going to get things done, who's going to put a little fear into the Democrats, and Boehner is just not the guy for the job right now.
I mean, who still supports Boehner? I just don't understand how he keeps his job. I really don't get it.
Yeah, I don't care if he's what he needs to do, and I'm not even saying that he should be kicked out of Congress. I just don't want to see him being the leader in that leadership position. As long as he's if he's just a one vote out of the hundreds of congressmen, if he's just the little face in the crowd, the little orange face in the crowd, that wouldn't bother me so much. But somebody needs to step up. I know Justin Amash was trying to get him removed. Some sort of bill that he tried to get through a year or two ago. It failed, although it was close. You saw Eric Cantor, of course, get voted out, but I don't know. I don't know. Something's got to get done, and the Republicans definitely need somebody else in charge because Boehner is either corrupted or incompetent or both.
And that's the same thing we've said about Barack Obama. He's either corrupt or he's incompetent. Either way, he needs to be removed. Same with Boehner.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in agreement on that. The leadership is leading us off a cliff, and they're smirking and going tanning. That would be Boehner, of course.
Well, I don't even care. Yeah, I'm just joking on him. But, regardless of his appearance, he just needs to be in the background and not and as the leadership. He's been a disgrace. He hasn't. The only thing I think he's positive he's done that I can think of in the many years that he's been up there is appointing Trey Gowdy to lead up the Benghazi investigation. That's about the only thing I think that I can think of. Otherwise, he's a laughing stock. Nobody takes him seriously. It's time to put a little fear into the Democratic Party and somebody that gets stuff done. So anyway.
Yeah, and being from Ohio for 25 years, I've obviously, when Boehner went in, excited. Okay, good. All right, let's do a good job. No. I am very disappointed in everything I've seen out of John Boehner. It's
He had his chance.
It's disappointing. He's had his chance. It's time to move along. He's not getting it done. And I tweeted out. It's just this is from the Mail online, the Daily Mail. A lot of people die out here. All this blood is on Obama's hands. Shocking images show corpses of illegal immigrants left to die after border crossings. And they're just saying here. You can take a look online. Dead bodies of illegal immigrants turning up in South Texas as Central Americans pour across the U.S.-Mexico border. Veterinarian who ranches cattle 70 miles from Ground Zero has the photos to prove it. Dr. Doc Vickers of Brooks County, Texas, showed some of the grisly images to Mail Online, all of them far too grotesque to publish unedited. One picture shows a corpse propped up against a tree near his ranch in Brooks County, his eyes missing and dried blood cascading down his shirtless body. This guy obviously had to lay down up against a tree, and that's where he died. Falcons, native to the Rio Grande River Valley, plucked his eyes out before he was dead. The animal doctor concludes he bled out through his eyes, which tells me he was probably in a coma, but they were eaten on him before his heart stopped beating. Like, this is just horrible stuff, but this is what's happening. You need to know how bad things are to have an opinion on it. I forced myself to watch that. I don't know, did you see that Paul George injury in the basketball game yesterday? In Vegas, for the Team USA, where he had that compound fracture of his leg when he landed. Did you happen to see that, Blake?
Oh, I saw it as a line on the bottom of a sports screen, but I didn't actually see it. No, I just heard about it. I didn't really even know much about him. I don't really follow the NBA outside of knowing some of the key players, but no, I wasn't even aware that happened in my backyard either.
Yeah, it was pretty foul, and I explained it yesterday that, I have to check out horrible, disgusting things sometimes so that I know what I'm talking about. And, if you want to check out this, and apparently there's a YouTube channel where it's unedited or whatever, check it out. It's on our Facebook page, and it's on our Twitter profile. But, it's just horrible stuff going on. And what upsets me so much about this is that this is a definitely coordinated, this whole air quote border crisis it goes directly to the Obama administration and the leaders of these South American countries and Mexico. This is a plan. This is a conspiracy, and it's pumping our border full of people and our country full of people with scabies, with tuberculosis, with all sorts of diseases. These kids are dying on their way up here. This is horrible stuff. I hate the conspiracy of it. This is not just something that organically happened because there's crime down there. There's always been crime down there. This is a direct result of the Obama policies and the DREAM Act and hey, if you get here, they're going to let you stay. Once again, am I off base, or do you kind of share a similar opinion of this border crisis, Blake? Because it's not stopping.
Yeah, he's done. Obama's done nothing to do anything to stop it. He's tried to raise something like, I don't know if it's 3.7 billion or 4.3 or something like that, some outrageous number without actually enforcing the border. He needs to give a deadline or something if he was actually serious about stopping this. But he's not. They're basically it's all a big joke. They're letting them all in. They're shipping them all over the country. Wherever they can put them, and just giving them basically a permiso to, they have to show up at court at a certain date, but it's so backlogged it'll be years before they have to show up in court, and actually 90% of them don't go to court anyway. So they're basically, with the policy in place, there's nothing to deter these people from coming up here. If Obama really cared, he would say, boom, you have till, let's say August 7th. And then no more. Anybody that comes over is going to, deal with the full force of the law. So if you're not in here by midnight on August 7th, then you might be in a lot of trouble. You're going to wish you never tried to come up here. So I think that would at least be something, and he should have done that a month ago if he was serious. But obviously there is ulterior motives in this. He's allowed this to become a problem. I think it's really backfiring on him a lot. He's really saying his approval rating drop. In fact, I think this is already his most unpopular issue already. So, yeah, just totally just uncalled for. He needs to be really has seriously questioned, if not interrogated. They need to stop this immediately. That's why I say I'd like to see a strong Republican leader in the House that's really going to fire up people everywhere, that's going to listen not just to his base, but just to everybody that speaks, in a nice little, some common sense, and get everybody to see his side and his persuasive arguments and do something to stop this. Because, yes, there's an epidemic going on. It's a crisis, and it needs to stop sooner than later.
First off, I'd love to hear the president say "boom," like you said earlier. Boom. August 7th. Boom.
I'm sure he would. Yeah.
Well, stop hating on me. No, I'd love to hear him say "boom," but I mean, so does that mean you're supporting Hillary Clinton in 2016 or Rand Paul?
Yeah. There's no way I would vote for Hillary. That would be. I can't imagine who she would have to run against for me to actually vote for her.
Netanyahu.
Ooh, boy, that's a good one. You know what? In that situation,
would you rather
I
have
probably
leading our
would.
country?
If the lesser of two evils, and there was the only two candidates, and I had to vote for one of them, then yeah, you know what? Maybe I would vote for Hillary over Netanyahu.
Wow, we're gonna have to pull that clip
or
out.
I could vote for Netanyahu just so I can absolutely. Well, I don't know. No, he would actually probably use NDAA against me and have me locked up. He would never want to have a debate.
Oh, come on.
He would never want to have my voice out there. He would never get in the ring in that regard. He wants to control. Well, you just heard the rhetoric. He said, "Don't ever, we should never question anything he says." Basically.
Well, Kerry is totally naive, and so is Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Is to how
I can agree with that.
I get that the harsh globalization and the colonialist tendencies of the neocons and the, hey, let's be Team America World Police. I get how that's misguided, but it's also equally misguided, the Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry way of, we'll just be friends with our enemy, period. That crap doesn't work either. So there's something in between Team America World Police and the warped liberal point of view. There's something in between that would make sense, but this isn't it. We only have a little bit more time, so I have two quick stories I want to get to and let you run here. U.S. doctor, this is from AP.org, U.S. doctor with Ebola in Atlanta for treatment. Let's see. An American doctor infected with the Ebola virus in Africa was able to walk from an ambulance into an Atlanta hospital Saturday after he arrived in the U.S. on a specially equipped plane, officials say. It marks the first time that anyone infected with Ebola, considered one of the world's deadliest diseases, is believed to have been brought into the country for treatment. A second American aid worker infected with the virus was expected to arrive within a couple of days at Emory University, which has one of the most sophisticated isolation rooms in the country. U.S. officials are confident the patients can be treated without putting the public in danger. Yeah. It's not that the government hasn't promised me things before. Do you feel like, because this is I don't know, it's a one side or the other issue, although I see both sides of it, and I'm sure you might as well. Do you feel that the U.S. needs to take care of our own as far as bring them back and take care of them, or good Lord Almighty, we are flirting with an atomic bomb here. Do not bring this person back into the country. How do you feel on this?
I really don't know. I'm not. I don't even know what to say because I can see both sides of this as well. I'm not qualified to say whether how much they can control this thing. It sounds like an unnecessary risk, but at the same time, I'm hoping they know what they're doing. This doctor is a hero. He deserves to get the best medical treatment that they can get him, but does that involve, risking contamination by bringing him into the United States? I'm not qualified to answer that.
Yeah, well, when is the last time Qualified has stopped a radio host from commenting on something?
Right, well, this is pretty, well, it depends. I don't know how serious this thing is. I mean, I'm looking at these doctors, and there's so many people that are getting infected that are actually fighting Ebola and take all the precautions, all the suits. I mean, I've seen like the movie, Outbreak many, many years ago, and this is just as bad. I mean, it's really like hard to believe that something is that contagious and that deadly. But I mean, it's absolutely devastating. And if it gets out into the general, if there's an outbreak or something like that, you can only imagine what a devastation that could cause. So I'm hoping they know what they're doing. They're more qualified to answer that than I am, and I do want to see that doctor helped. But if this is that as bad as it says it is, then obviously it's an extreme risk. It's out of my pay grade. I would like to see that they would just be contained in Africa, and they could have just sent like the best people out there to go maybe see if they can. I don't know what kind of facilities they have, and I'm really hoping that this hospital in Atlanta really knows what it's doing, and the facilities are really superior, and they know that they can contain this.
Well, it's that you could. There's no accident with the vehicle. That there's nothing that it comes down to accidents. And for me, you have Outbreak in your mind. If I've seen it, I saw half of it on TV once. I didn't see it in the theater, but it reminds me of The Stand by Stephen King. And this one, at a remote U.S. Army base, a weaponized strain of influenza, officially known as Project Blue and nicknamed Captain Trips, is accidentally released. Despite an effort to put the base under lockdown, a security malfunction allows a soldier named Charles Campion to escape with his family. By the time the military tracks the already deceased Campion to Texas, he has triggered a pandemic of apocalyptic proportions, which eventually kills off 99.4% of the world's human population. As the pandemic intensifies, a multifaceted narrative, told partly from the perspective of the primary characters, outlines the total breakdown and destruction of society through widespread violence, the failure of martial law to contain the outbreak, the military's increasingly violent efforts to censor information, in a famous scene where Kathy Bates is killed on air by the martial law enforcers as she's doing a radio show decrying her First Amendment rights, and you can hear the gunshots ring out as she's killed on air. That's
by Netanyahu and the I.R.S.
Really? Yeah. How about a Hamas suicide bomber, pal? Anyway, the near extinction of mankind.
They're just as worse as terrorists. They're just yes. Israel's a lot more clever about their propaganda.
So anyway, that's what this reminds me of is a virus escaping and putting everyone in danger. I'm really concerned about this. I'm going to keep following this story on Ebola, and apparently there's no cure for it. This isn't something you just got to ride it out and make sure you stay hydrated and take an antibiotic. This is a death sentence, So this is really bad news. We will keep following it, but finally, before we let you go, this one is.
I'll get about 3 minutes.
Perfect.
So yeah,
Lois Lerner criticized GOP as crazies and assholes in emails. Washington. Former I.R.S. official at the heart of the agency's Tea Party controversy called conservative Republicans crazies, and more in emails released on Wednesday. Lerner headed the I.R.S. division that handles applications for tax-exempt status. In a series of emails with a colleague in November 2012, Lerner made 2 disparaging remarks about members of the GOP, including one mark that was profane. What are your thoughts on this? How damning is this, and do you think there's a flood of information still about to come down regarding this?
Well, I hope so. There's got to be a way to get the information out on what all these lost emails. They've got to be somewhere. So, and that just gives you another reason why you have to find those emails and why they have to have an independent investigation or a prosecutor to go in there and dig that up, because obviously they don't want that information to come out. It could bring down the administration. It could have pretty devastating effects against the administration, liberal media, everybody that's basically said this was a phony scandal, or for Obama to say there's not a smidgen of corruption. Obviously, this lady was, running. Should not. The I.R.S. is supposed to be, nonpartisan, and clearly she was extremely opinionated in her hatred of conservatives or Tea Party libertarians, anything like that. So, and it's pretty obvious that she was up to no good, and there's a cover-up, and it needs to, the truth needs to come out.
Yeah, and if this is an administration that's willing to go after half of the population that don't agree with his politics, is this the same person that would collaborate with other governments, whether it's Mexico or Honduras or El Salvador, to artificially create some sort of phony scandal that's something that's all political, something that can maybe push the needle a little bit so that you can push for comprehensive immigration reform, when all we want is a damn border to make sure we're checking the people who are walking in and walking out, so they're not carrying dirty bombs, they're not coming in with drug-resistant strains of tuberculosis and scabies and garbage, that they're not tatted up with with gang tattoos, and they're going to come into a community and wreak havoc, robbing buildings, robbing people, shooting people, raping people. You've seen these stories across the country already with illegal aliens. The DUIs that kill a family of 4 on their way home from church. You see it all over the country. That's stuff that should never be happening. And there is a humanitarian issue involved. We cannot take every person from all over the world and bring them here and take care of them. We can take a few, but there's a process for it. That process is intentionally left vague and void. And if I got to take my shoes off at an airport, don't tell me we can't build a damn border fence. Then we'll build a ladder. Then put someone at the top of the fence that will knock over the ladder. It's not complicated. Anyone that tells me this is complicated, my BS meter starts ticking. But is this the type of government that would then, therefore, in the Cloward and Piven strategy, with all the radical Marxists, all the people that have influenced the 60s and 70s generation of political leaders, that have said that it would be necessary to kill off a large percentage of the people in this country to turn it into a country that's no longer as unfair as it has been for so long? I don't put anything past this administration. I think they're dangerous. I do think they need to be removed. Barack Obama should be impeached as soon as it's politically viable. Maybe that's after the November elections. We shall see. But Blake, thank you for joining us on this very protracted, this very shortened, condensed, tightened episode of Agree to Disagree, because we do on Israel and Gaza and Palestine. But we're both willing to hear the story, and I appreciate
it. As always, but I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Brian. You need to check out that interview from Abby Martin on Breaking the Set on RT a couple days ago. It's right on my Twitter timeline. Yes, you see the Zionist debating somebody. They're both Americans, I do believe. The other one's a journalist, a Jewish journalist who traveled to Palestine and sympathizes with Palestine versus the hardcore Zionists. And I think that was probably the best debate I've seen on that. It's only maybe 27 minutes or so. Everybody needs to go check that out. Yeah, please check that out on my Twitter feed, Eccentric99, because I don't have the title in front of me. But or Abby Martin or any of that stuff.
All right, I will check that out.
Max Blumenthal versus Morton Klein. People, yes, Google it.
I will check that out.
Watch it, including Brian. Brian needs to watch that.
All right, I will check it out, and you can tell me when you come back your homework. How many times has Hamas violated the ceasefires? I think we're up to 9, but I'll have to double check the number, and we'll meet back here next week.
But how many has Israel broken?
Yeah, I know.
They both have.
This is agree to disagree.
They're horrible.
This is agree to disagree. We're allowed to come from different points of view, and we still get the information out there. We still consider the other side, and we don't need to yell over each other. And I appreciate that about you, and we'll be talking with you again soon, Blake. You have a great day, and to be continued. I appreciate your time.
Brian.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Excellent. Take care. Later.
There he goes, Blake the Eccentric, everybody. Check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Also, please subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Follow us on Facebook, or like our page on Facebook, The New American Media, with spaces in between. And Twitter, we're at American_media_. Signing out for the TNAM Radio Network. I appreciate you, and peace.